In the thick of a project here, trying to build an interface for my ARP 2600 synth, one they use for R2-D2 and Star Wars and all that. But my friend's playing some videos tonight, and it's driving me crazy because I'm hearing things like that the moon is a facade, and I'm like, I don't know. I've got quite a few observation hours behind me. I built telescopes when I was in junior high and high school, and looked at every messier object, and so I've got a lot of observing time in, and and I've completed a physics program, except for thermal sequence. I never took thermal, but I was pretty good in that area anyway, so I just never felt like I needed to complete that. I have a science ed bachelor's, and taught physics a little bit, and then I went to work for Institute of Molecular Biology. Anyway, blah blah blah, my credentials. But whatever the case, what we're looking at there is something familiar to me in this moon pulse wave, or whatever they think they're seeing. You've got a column of atmosphere that's... Are we still running? Yeah, I don't like talking to nobody. Okay, my batteries die about now. Got a column of atmosphere that is, hundreds of thousands of feet, effectively high here, though at 100,000 foot it's very, very thin, and there's very small distribution of particles above that, but it appears we still have a large column of atmosphere on top of us here. And have you ever stood out on a windy day, it's not super windy, but all of a sudden you hear a puff, this sudden turbulence of wind? It's a very dynamic thing. And we've got, columns of air that are meeting with other columns of air and different temperatures, creating interfaces. Whenever you have, air masses compressing like that little puff you feel on a larger scale, going with a large air mass moving over from some different temperature region, cloud can create a large amount of temperature discrepancy between two bands of air. And we have these things going on in our atmosphere just in so many complex ways. It's an incredible puzzle to figure out, what anything's going to do at any given time, which is why the wind just seems to come out of nowhere sometimes. Now, applying that to just a large column of atmosphere above us, we can have times when there will be an interfacing of different air masses that create a high pressure zone over a fairly large column of air. And when that happens, you've got a different index of refraction in that, and you will see precisely what you see in that. And if you do the calculation on the typical speed of winds and put it across the 30 minute arc objects there, the moon or the sun's disk, you will see that is probably about the speed it would move across as a typical wind in the atmosphere. We're not off scale there from a real expectation. So that's my suspicion of what you're seeing there. It looks like that kind of effect. I've seen that kind of effect before in observing things through my telescopes. And I think NASA loves to ignore things because they are, you got part of it right there. You are looking at an organization that's trying to spread disinformation in some cases and hopes people will go off on conspiracy theories, or at least the powers behind it. I don't think everyone working in any organization like that is up to speed on what's going on in the organization's hierarchy necessarily. But you've got certainly, I've seen just too many ridiculous things to, in the 9/11 scenario, they were intentionally, giving bad information. There was give an example there because it's very easy to illustrate. You've got all these photos that came out from FEMA and whatever, and people were looking at some of the photos taken of the Pentagon, and they saw this 16-foot diameter hole, and I went off on this. I'm like, a plane can't fit through that. And I did some, physics showing that it would take a 200 g acceleration for the engine to be drawn through that hole that amount of time at 450 or 500 miles an hour. And so you've got this impossibility. Of course, the things that hold the engines on the wing aren't made to even sustain probably 10 Gs, but 200, come on. So I whined about it, and people started citing this study from Purdue, or was it Duke, and Boeing, where they had, claimed that they had done a model and shown how an airplane indeed would go through. And they showed me this somebody went to the work of making a 3D model of a plane folding up going through this hole, and I'm like, this is so stupid. They went to the effort to do this thing that is impossible, and they obviously didn't do any actual math or physics in this alleged model. It was purely just an animation. It had no actual science behind it at all. It came from our supercomputer, Come on. No, it did not. And the thing is, some kid finally showed me, hey, you're not even looking at all the pictures. Here's one that shows that, that same time you can see the hole, but there was smoke below there occluding, that there was damage below, and you could see that, in the broader picture. And so whatever hit it obviously had a larger than 16-foot impact. It did hit close to ground. I don't believe it was an airliner. Pilots say it's impossible. I think it was something else they hit it with, and maybe the photos of the A7D motor weren't off on that. But anyway, whatever the case, whatever happened at the Pentagon, there are, it's easy to pay a few witnesses, and so we don't know. We can't tell. They confiscated the cameras. They wanted disinformation to reign, is my point, so that we can all argue meaninglessly about these things and waste our time. That is today's lesson. That we are just being preyed upon by the banking cartels who want us to waste our time. They want to destroy the economy of the United States, make sure we do nothing productive. That's what's going on. I can guarantee you that they will try to encourage you in anything you find that's an anomaly, and they'll act like, we have no comment on that, because they want you to go, hey, there's something fishy about this, and to go off on a conspiracy theory about it and waste a lot of time. And if you can produce those yourself, they're all the more happy about it. But I believe what you're looking at there is actually an atmospheric turbulence effect created by a long column of air with a differential in density that is created by air masses meeting, creating a compression, and creating a long column of slight difference in refractivity due to the index of refraction changing in that compression. And that slight change magnified over a long column is creating a visible wave going across something, creating it so that it's like you're putting a lens over the top of it. Anyway, or a lens that's kind of, horizontal. Anyway, have a good day.